How's it going, you guys? It's Antonio here. In today's video, we're going to be tackling the topic of, will realtors be around in 10, 20, 30 years? So this could very easily be a 2, 3, 4, even 5-hour topic, just from me alone, not even doing, an extensive amount of research, just from what I know. But I'm going to try to break it down and put it in a way that's easy to understand as quickly as I can, while still getting the pertinent points across. So, if you know anything about AI, the graph looks something like this. Once it is actually developed, it's exponential, right? So, what you have now is a lot of fear around the real estate industry and a lot of industries, a lot of jobs, because of the singular development of AI in these fields. So you have Amazon, machines pick up this package, put it over here. In the car industry, take this, screw the bolt here. Grocery stores, they have a software program, not really AI. Boom, scan this. But what would be more considered AI is here, take this, put that can there, take this, do inventory, check inventory, do all that kind of stuff. And so that has created fear in every single field. And it is warranted, but I wouldn't say exactly yet. And the reason is a lot of things have to fall into place and a lot of things have to change, and there are going to be a lot of problems. So if you, for example, take a look at the car industry, right? Do you think every single gas car is going to be off the road in the next 20 years? No, right? But what's going to slowly start changing is the policy, and the policy is going to start making it so that gas cars can't be developed anymore, taking away the consumer's option to buy gas or electric. So initially, in all of these fields, there's going to be this one analogy I'm using, and one more with the grocery store. You have, and it's going to be the same thing for everything. Just watch and think about this, right? So initially you have, okay, mostly gas cars, and I have the option to go to get an electric car. That's maybe 10% of the option. Okay, now it's 50%, 50%. I have 50% electric cars, 50% gas cars being created by the companies. So on the company side, they've decided, hey, I need to put money into this. And then the policy changes and, oh, well, I'm not allowed to buy a gas car anymore. Okay, I have no more option. Now I have to buy an electric vehicle. But people that are in that industry, that are giving the gas, to the vehicles on the gas side, they're still going to be okay for another, 10, 15 years. But only the best ones are going to survive, right? And then eventually all the gas stations are pretty much going to be phased out in the next, probably like 50 years, once the lifetime of those cars is like truly up, and then people will have to kind of like really go out of their way, and there's only going to be like, maybe like they're going to have to go someplace, special for it or whatever. The grocery store is going to, have just a gas section or something like that. But yeah, so then your only choice is going to be that electric vehicle, right? So you can start applying some of those concepts to the real estate field. Now you take a look at a grocery store. You have one option initially, go to the cashier. And then, bright idea, hey, let's make it so that people can self-checkout. Now you have two options. And then what happens is the options are taken away. Now Amazon has had the time to fully develop a store where you go in, you grab something, and you walk out. You don't even need the act of going to that cashier. So now it's completely gone. And with the grocery stores, there's not really a lot of policy or anything like that has to be changed. So that can happen essentially very quickly. But you have to either transition or beat out the competition, or something has to happen in the market in order to get all of these traditional ones to leave. So people, they have to say to themselves, like, I really do not want to have to check out with the person so bad that I'm going to go to the Amazon store down the street way more than I'm going to go to the Safeway store. And because I don't think that's really something people, actually care about too much. Like, like me, I'd be like, whatever, I'm gonna go to Safeway, I'm gonna go to whatever's closer, right? Because of that, it's probably gonna take a while for that to happen. But Amazon has so much money that they could purchase, these places and transition them into their business, right? So that's going to take, 15, 20 years for all these Safeway stores to be phased out, and the only option you have is to walk in, grab, your item and walk out, because now it's an Amazon store. Or to order with voice with Alexa or Google Home or something like that and have it show up at your door. Now, take these concepts and apply it to real estate, and it's the same thing, but it's a little bit more complicated. What you have is the realtor, right? That was the only option you had. All the paperwork, all the groceries, so to speak, would come through them and go out the door. Now you've made that purchase, you're good to go. Now, it's still the same thing, but you've got these software programs that are more and more, and so this is where the time frame comes in. I think within the next 5 years, we're going to have essentially every software program, not AI, developed to simplify every one of those 150 tasks that's required to complete a real estate transaction. So you're gonna have, boom, getting a loan. You're gonna have, boom, making the counter offer. Everything is gonna be consolidated into simple, easy to fill out online. When you're filling out the forms, instead of it being a 10-step process where I gotta drive to you, you have to sign it, I have to take it, gotta bring it here, gotta do this, gotta do that. I'm gonna send it to you on an email. You're gonna sign that paperwork, send it back to me, and that's now been turned down to 3 steps. So you're gonna have the simplification that's still all running through the realtor, right? So you still have a mass amount of realtors, you still have a mass amount of the software there, and what's going to happen after that somewhere between the 5 to 15 year period is going to be a massive consolidation, where now those programs are going to be bundled up and offered by singular companies, which some of them are already trying to do this, but this is where a few of the problems come in that I'll get into. And they're going to all be offered by a single company under one roof, and more than likely there's going to be 4 to 5, if not 1 to 2 dominating companies that do this, and you're going to have only the best realtors that are the most knowledgeable, or, as for example, firefighting, you used to need nothing. Now you need your EMT, and then soon you're going to need your paramedic. Same thing for this. First, you don't need anything. Sorry. First, you don't need anything. Then you need your real estate license. And then you need your bachelor's, then you need your master's. That's probably what's going to happen. So you have this consolidation, all the technologies packed under one roof. Realtors start making less. They're valued less, potentially. And there's going to be less of them. And these guys are going to be a lot less on the going out and finding lead side, because whatever company they're working for is going to have all the leads coming from them. For example, a company like Redfin or something like that, and then these guys are just going to be there for the more complicated situations in order to facilitate, hey, we need to use this program, hey, we need to do this, and they're going to be basically just sources of knowledge, a lot of knowledge, a lot more than what a typical realtor would need to have, right? So that's going to be under one roof. You're going to have less realtors, you're going to have all the technology at their disposal. And then after policy change, because there has to be a lot of legal and policy change and everything within city, state, federal, and everything like that in order to make these houses more liquid, to be traded easier, unless you're trading them on the blockchain or something like that. They have to be more liquid, they have to be easier to trade, and that will change everything. Then you'll essentially be able to have just one software AI that could, potentially at that point be able to consider almost every single transaction, and you'll probably just have a few people left at the company that are, working there. So now you've went from 50 realtors from thousands to 50 realtors for the area to, 5 or 10 people that are controlling this, and it just gets smaller and smaller until eventually the curve with the AI, it goes up so fast and so quickly that once somebody develops something that's like considered true AI, then freaking every field, everybody's going to be replaced within 5 to 10 years of that period, assuming that policy follows quickly, but it never does. So that's what's going to take a while to stop people. Now, what you have to consider with this is, how much do people value having somebody, and this is one of the rebuttals, how much do you value having somebody handhold you through it, and because it's your first big purchase and everything like that, versus having it be cheaper and easier, such as an option with like Redfin or something like that. And the thing with that is, yes, while you have these two options, you're not going to forever. Same thing with the grocery store. You have cashier, you have self-checkout. Right now, you have realtors, and you have Redfin and a few other companies that are similar. So you have the cheaper, potentially faster option. You have the more emotional, talking to the cashier, more connected, able to, any question you have, they're going to show you around the store, they're going to go get it for you, they're going to be able to have that extra little bit. But if you're doing just a simple real estate transaction, you're an investor, you have your money, you want to go do, what you got to do, and then you're like, I'm okay taking the less, I'll go over here. But you have a little bit more complicated situation, you're going through a divorce, probate, whatever it is, okay, I want the hand holding, I want this. But what happens is somebody develops on the back end an entire thing and comes in and completely takes those options away. So there is only one option. Now, that can only happen if there's a mass implementation. So a lot of this stuff has already been developed, but the problems are unless somebody comes in and takes over the entire market, because they're offering it for a less amount, the margins are small, and they essentially have to become that which they seek to destroy. They have to become a brokerage or loan company or whatever it is, and whatever they're saying that they want to get rid of, they have to come in and essentially become the same thing. So Redfin comes in, and now they have realtors, but they're just realtors that are working part-time and stuff like that. And for the most part, I'm not going to blanket everybody, but so now they come in and become that which they seek to destroy, except lower quality. And so the other problem is they need funding, right? So you either have to have somebody like Amazon that has so much money on the back end, they can just come in, purchase a ton of grocery stores, completely replace everybody, or you have to have something where they come in, they become that which they seek to destroy for a little bit, and they slowly make the money, and they slowly take over these markets as they integrate more and more technology in, and they get rid of more and more people. And then in the next 10 to 15 years, then it's only essentially, a few people working there that, have higher degrees or have been grandfathered in, and then, and then the software and AI technology and all of that. So let's see if there's anything else to this. Yeah, I think that's about it. There was one option, 2020 to 2030, 35, there's going to be two options. And then once policy change happens and all of the technology development and all of that happens, 2000 probably 40 to 60, if not 2035 to 2050 or whatever, that's potentially most likely going to be the time when somebody comes in and there's a massive change and essentially all of your options are taken away, for the most part. Now, what can you do to combat this as a realtor? So what's funny is I think that the Bay Area will actually be the last one to fully switch over, but I think they'll be the first to develop the technology, and I think they'll go over to Texas and Florida and all of these places over there, where the markets are cheaper to break into, and essentially use all the money and funding from the VC companies over here, go over there, and then once they take over those markets, they'll slowly, keep on working their way over here. They'll stay over here and they'll slowly try to grow over here, but they'll be able to go over to those markets and essentially have a mass kind of takeover almost immediately, because the margins for the realtors are so small and the market's just so much cheaper to break into. And so what you can do is you can start trying to break into the luxury markets in your area, and especially New York, Bay Area, Silicon Valley, stuff like that, Miami Beach, because the luxury audience is going to be the audience that last wants to say, oh yeah, hey, for a $20 million property, let me hand it over to filling it out online myself. They're going to be the last ones to say that. So getting into the luxury field will help you a lot. Getting into commercial will help delay this by another 10, 15 years potentially. You're gonna want to do something different. You're gonna want to get more educated, potentially get a degree that's going to enable you to do multiple things, realtor designer, realtor architect, whatever it is. And yeah, I remember what I wanted to say. So one of the biggest problems with this and getting it to come to fruition is who's going to front the money, because similar to like the Manhattan Project with nuclear nuclear development, nuclear weapon development, and creating these liquid salt nuclear reactors and all that kind of stuff. Yes, we have a design. Yes, we know it potentially may work, but who's going to risk it? Who's going to put up the money? Because if this company doesn't essentially take over the entire market like Uber or a Lyft kind of company would, then all of our money's to the wind. So it's going to cost this much to implement it, and the risk is this big, which a lot of VCs don't like. But recently, because of all the changes in technology and everything, a lot more venture capital companies are saying, you know what, maybe. And they're starting to put money into these kind of companies and these kind of technologies. But that money, it's not going to come in just one huge lump sum. So until these companies, they're trickling money into these small startups, and until all of the technology is individually developed and then combined together by essentially the funding of either the VC companies, or there's a lot of change in investing right now. It's becoming a lot easier, especially with the introduction of cryptocurrencies and all that kind of stuff. So if these companies are able to get off the ground because the general public is just GoFundMe throwing $1 million at them, or because the VC company decide, hey, you know what, this is the way to go, let's be the first to the market, and they throw a ton of money at them, that's what's either going to accelerate or decelerate the timeline to these things. All right, so that's about all I've got for today. If you guys have any ideas, helpful feedback, anything like that, go ahead, leave a comment down below. I'll check it out, most likely reply. I read everything, and I'll see you guys next time.